Hi, I'm Jack, and welcome to ChatSmart English. If you want to speak English fluently without constantly translating in your head, you're in the right place. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss tips that can transform your English skills. Let me tell you a story. Imagine this. You're at a coffee shop. The barista smiles and asks, "What would you like to order?" For a moment, you freeze. You think in your native language, then try to translate the words into English. By the time you speak, the barista is already waiting for the next customer. This is a common experience for many learners. You're not alone. The good news is, you don't have to live this way. Here's the secret. Fluent speakers don't translate. Instead, they think directly in English. Today, I'll show you how you can do the same. And don't worry, it's easier than you think. Are you ready to leave translating behind and step into a world where speaking English feels natural and easy? Let's dive in. Chapter 2. Why translating holds you back. Have you ever wondered why translating in your head feels so frustrating? Here's the truth. Your brain is working overtime. When you translate, you're doing three things at once. First, you think of what you want to say in your native language. Then you try to find the right English words. Finally, you put them together into a sentence. That's a lot to handle in just a few seconds. Real-life example? Let's say you're at an airport. The announcement says, "Flight 345 to New York is now boarding at gate 12. You think, okay, what does boarding mean? Oh, it's like getting on the plane. By the time you figure it out, you've missed important information like the gate number. Translating slows you down and makes speaking feel unnatural. But here's the good news. There's a way to train your brain to skip this step altogether. Think of young children learning their first language. They don't translate. They connect words directly to actions, objects, and ideas. And that's exactly what you'll learn to do as we move forward. Now, let's talk about the first step to breaking free from translation, changing how you think about English. Chapter 3. Start thinking in English. To stop translating, the first step is simple. Start thinking in English. Now, you might be wondering, how can I do that? It's easier than you think. Begin with small, everyday moments. For example, when you see an object like a chair, don't think of the word in your native language. Instead, say chair in your mind. When you're getting ready for the day, describe your actions in English. I'm brushing my teeth. Or, I need to wear my blue shirt. Here's a real-life example. Maria, one of my students, struggled with translation for years. She started a simple habit of narrating her day in English, even if it was just in her thoughts. She would think, I need to buy milk, or it's sunny outside. Within weeks, she noticed her brain automatically reaching for English words instead of her native language. Another technique is to label items around your home with English words. Put a sticky note on your mirror that says mirror, or on your refrigerator that says refrigerator. Seeing these words regularly creates an instant connection between the object and the English term. The more you immerse your mind in English, the less you'll rely on translation. It's like training your brain to think directly in the language you're learning. Next, let's explore how listening plays a crucial role in this transformation. Chapter 4. The Power of Active Listening. Listening is one of the most powerful tools for thinking directly in English. When you listen actively, you expose your brain to the natural flow of the language, its sounds, rhythms, and structures. Think about this. When you hear a song on the radio multiple times, you start to remember the lyrics without trying. Why? Because repetition and exposure make it stick. The same goes for English. Here's a real-life example. Rahul, another learner, started listening to podcasts in English during his daily commute. At first, he understood only a few words, but he didn't give up. He focused on picking out common phrases like, "How are you?" or "What do you think?" Over time, his brain began to recognize patterns, and these phrases started coming to him naturally when he spoke. To practice active listening, choose materials that interest you. Watch movies, listen to podcasts, or follow YouTube channels. Pay attention to how native speakers form sentences, where they pause, and how they emphasize words. Try shadowing, a technique where you repeat what you hear immediately. For example, if you're watching a show and the character says, "I'll see you tomorrow," Pause and say it aloud. This trains your brain to connect the sound with the meaning directly, without translating. By making listening a daily habit, you'll start to internalize English, making it easier to think and speak fluently. Next, we'll talk about how practice, especially speaking, can solidify these skills. Chapter 5. Speak more. Translate less. If you want to stop translating and speak fluently, you need to practice speaking as much as possible. Speaking reinforces your ability to think in English and builds your confidence to communicate naturally. Here's a simple rule. Practice speaking every day, even if you're alone. Start with self-talk. For example, as you're cooking, say things like, "I'm chopping vegetables," or "I need to add salt." The more you practice, the more natural it becomes to think and speak directly in English. A real-life example. Alex, a learner who felt shy about speaking, started recording himself talking about his day in English. He didn't worry about making mistakes. He just spoke freely. Over time, his confidence grew and he found it easier to have conversations without translating in his head. Another great technique is role-playing. Pretend you're in a specific situation, like ordering food at a restaurant or asking for directions. Act out the dialogue, imagining both your part and the other person's responses. If possible, find a speaking partner or join an English conversation group online. Platforms like Tandem or HelloTalk connect you with people who are eager to practice. Speaking with others helps you think on your feet, and their feedback can improve your skills even more. Remember, fluency isn't about perfection. It's about expressing yourself confidently, even if you make mistakes. Every time you speak, you're training your brain to think in English. Next, let's dive into how repetition can help you master this process. Chapter 6. The Magic of Repetition. Repetition is the key to mastering any skill, and speaking English is no different. When you repeat words, phrases, and sentences, you train your brain to recognize and use them automatically, without pausing to translate. Think of it this way. When you first learn a song, you have to look at the lyrics. But after hearing it several times, you can sing along without thinking. The same principle applies to English. Repetition helps you internalize the language. For example, take a simple phrase like, "How are you doing today?" Repeat it multiple times throughout your day. Say it when you wake up, when you're walking, or even while cooking. Gradually, it becomes a natural part of your vocabulary. A real-life example. Sarah, a learner who struggled with fluency, started using flashcards with common English phrases. She reviewed them daily, repeating each phrase out loud. Within weeks, she noticed these phrases coming to her mind naturally during conversations. Another effective method is to rewatch videos or reread materials. Choose a short clip or text and go over it multiple times until you can predict what comes next. This deepens your familiarity with the language, making it easier to think in English. Lastly, try using spaced repetition apps like Anki or Quizlet. These tools help you practice and recall words and phrases over time, reinforcing your memory. Repetition isn't boring. It's a proven way to transform your speaking skills. With consistent practice, you'll notice a shift in how quickly and confidently you can think and speak in English. Now let's move on to the final page, where we'll talk about making these habits a part of your daily life. Chapter 7. Making English a part of your life. The secret to thinking in English is consistency. To truly master this skill, you need to make English an integral part of your daily life. The more you surround yourself with the language, the less you'll rely on translation. Here's a real-life example. Maria, a busy professional, decided to immerse herself in English by changing her phone's language settings and writing her to-do lists in English. She even started thinking about her grocery shopping in English, asking herself, "Do I need milk or bread?" These small daily habits made a huge difference in her fluency over time. You can do the same. Start small. Pick one activity each day to do in English. For instance, set aside 10 minutes to journal your thoughts in English. Or before bed, think about your day. What did I do? What did I learn? These moments of reflection help you practice forming sentences naturally. Another tip is to engage with English-speaking content you enjoy. Love cooking? Watch recipe videos in English. Enjoy comedy? Follow English-speaking comedians. When you connect language learning to your interests, it becomes fun and sustainable. Most importantly, don't fear mistakes. Every time you try, even if you stumble, you're making progress. Embrace the learning process and celebrate small wins, like remembering a phrase without hesitation or completing a conversation entirely in English. Finally, remember this: fluency isn't a destination, it's a journey. By practicing daily, staying consistent, and immersing yourself in the language, you'll not only think in English but also speak it with confidence and ease. So what's your next step? Choose one technique from today's video and start applying it right away. And don't forget, subscribe to ChatSmart English for more tips and stories to help you on your English speaking journey.